Real Deal Sports Talk with me, KP. Thanks for tuning in tonight. It's a lovely Wednesday night. We'll have Jeremy from the Dirt Cannon joining us tonight here shortly. A lot to get to tonight, before the next third week of the NFL season coming up on us. Many things, many injuries, fines, possibilities of players coming back because of injuries. Quarterbacks, are they the worst? We'll cover the current records. We'll talk about, where the teams might go. We have the good, the bad, the ugly. And, of course, at the end, we'll have the Let's Get Real segment. I'm going to talk a little bit about the Lions to start off the show. I'm a diehard Lions fan, have been for over 20 years. And this last weekend, this was hard for us. Amir Abdullah going down. He's been placed on the IR with his foot injury. Apparently he's going in for surgery, and he'll be down now. Possibility of coming back late in the season. That definitely hurts the running game. We'll have to see if the rookie Washington can step up. We're going to give him increased carries to see what he has. Zach Zener, are you going to be able to step up now and fill that role? I know they brought in Jock Bell to see what he still had left in the tank, and as of right now, there are no reports that he has signed with the team. But losing Amir Abdullah, that hurts. Theo Riddick is a great out-of-the-backfield change-of-pace guy. He dances too much before he hits the hole. That's the biggest problem that he has, is being the number one back. He wants to dance and spin and do all that kind of stuff, which is great in the open field. That makes him electrifying. That makes him a weapon. But when you're coming out of the backfield, you got to hit the hole. So that's something Amir Abdullah was starting to show that he could handle that. Lincoln Tomlinson, I know he was a first-round pick. I know he was, the All-ACC Athlete of the Year. But the boy's struggling. He's having a lot of trouble. I don't know if it's time to bench him, move him to a different position, but something needs to happen there. We got an average offensive line right now, and he's almost a leaky gate. And that's not going to work out with the way Stafford's playing. He's been balling out right now. I think he's been playing the best football of his career easily, continuing on from where he was last year. So, very impressed with that. Calvin Johnson on Dancing with the Stars. He did Urkel this week. He's still on the show. Keep voting for him. It's hard watching the game and flipping over trying to catch when he's on, but, put the game on the TV, put the show on the tablet or the computer, and, watch two screens, get one muted, watch the game, You'll figure it out if you want to vote for Calvin. Check him out. He's better than you would think, honestly. I've been impressed with him so far. Ziggy, he's got the high ankle sprain. He's a tough kid. He's probably going to keep trying to push it each week so he can be out there and contribute. But there's no telling how long the effects from a high ankle sprain could last. As somebody who's suffered from a number of them, they can definitely linger. So that's something we will definitely have to be paying attention to with Ziggy. And as far as our linebacker core goes, I don't know what we're going to do. We brought a guy back that was here during the preseason and training camp, put him on the practice squad. All right, calling in on the Real Deal line right now, we have Jeremy from the Dirt Cannon. How you doing, Jeremy?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Good. So I'm going to bring up the questions here real quick. What a week 2 was, huh?
Yeah, it was a pretty crazy week, that's for sure. A lot of injuries, a lot of stuff going on.
The injuries were something else. All right, I got the questions up here. So I know you are a busy man this week. You got a lot going on, conferences and whatnot, and out there doing big things. So I won't take up too much of your time, but I'm happy that you were able to join us tonight, and the listeners will definitely benefit from our conversation, I'm sure. So
Absolutely, man.
Let's get into it. Top performers from week 2 for FanDuel, DraftKings, and Yahoo.
For sure. So last week on FanDuel, we had Cam Newton with comeback performance after playing Denver in week 1. He came back, had a pretty good outing, and scored over 30 fantasy points last week on FanDuel. For DraftKings, as usual, wide receiver topped our list. Stephon Diggs actually on Sunday night lit it up. Sam Bradford was pretty impressive in his first game with the Vikings, and most of his work was done with Stephon Diggs, who put up just over 38 fantasy points on DraftKings. And then on Yahoo, again, Cam Newton was our top performer, but I also wanted to mention Travis Benjamin. With Keenan Allen out, Travis Benjamin played a big role for San Diego against the Jaguars on Sunday, and he was the number 2 fantasy point scorer on Yahoo.
Very good game for Travis Benjamin. Who are top 3 busts for week 2?
Yep, absolutely. So 2 of the 3 were actually 2 of the higher priced wide receivers in the game. So who led our list first was actually Antonio Brown. So he struggled against the Bengals defense. They really locked him down. He ended up only with 5.8 fantasy points in week 2. And then his counterpart on the opposite side of the ball for Cincinnati, A.J. Green, on DraftKings also only had 5.8 points. So both of those guys were pretty major busts considering their week 1 performances and what they were projected to do against each other. Weather obviously played a little bit of factor,
right,
as it was raining during that game, but nonetheless wanted to point those 2 out. And then at running back, again, Adrian Peterson tops our running back list as far as busts. He only produced 3 fantasy points yet again, and then obviously news came out today, so he's having surgery on his MCL, and he'll be out for 3 to 4 months.
That is a tough one for the Vikings. Their quarterback's out, their left tackle's out, their running back's out. It's a good thing they got a defense.
Right, and they're still winning.
Right. That is the fun of fantasy football, everybody. Now everybody's out there banging their heads trying to figure out who they're going to play at running back. Who are the league leaders right now? Quarterbacks, running backs, break it down for us.
Absolutely. So, and each week we'll change it up. So this week I thought I'd throw out the DraftKings league leaders. Certainly you can visit us at dirtcannon.com. We have the league leaders for each platform, and I'll share with you each week. We'll pick a different one. So we'll look at FanDuel or Yahoo next week. But for right now, Matt Ryan is actually our leader at quarterback after 2 weeks, coming in at 29.6 fantasy points per game.
Okay.
Cam Newton's number 2. He had a big second week, so he's just behind Matt Ryan at a little over 29 fantasy points per game. And then at running back, D'Angelo Williams is still our leader for fantasy running backs. He's at 30.1 fantasy points per game.
Wow.
30.7 fantasy points per game on DraftKings. Number 2 is actually Matt Forte, and for our local fans here, Denver fan C.J. Anderson is number 3 at 24.1. So,
there you go.
Again, we've got a bunch of those. We break down all the top 5s across all the positions. Just real quick, Stephon Diggs is our leader for wide receivers. Greg Olsen at tight end. Arizona's our top defense so far. So that rounds us out as far as offensive positions and defense.
So there you go, guys. You still got time to get your lineups right. Try and make a trade if you can. Try and get some of those guys on your team. Don't be like me and have Stephon Diggs on the bench and miss out on all of those fantasy points. Let's move on to this week, week 3. What are 3 players to avoid this weekend?
Yeah, so we took from putting our players to avoid for week 3. We wanted to look at top quarterback, running back, and wide receiver, and really just wanted to look at the opponents that they're playing against. So not necessarily from a projection standpoint, but just looking at the top-ranked defenses against quarterbacks, wide receivers, running backs. And so Brock Osweiler tomorrow night against New England. New England actually comes in number 1 in terms of fantasy points per game to the quarterback position. And then at wide receiver, we've got A.J. Green, who goes up against Denver's defense. I think watching that Pittsburgh game, they might have a formula put together for A.J. Green to see if the other folks for Cincinnati can beat him.
Maybe.
We'll see. Wade Phillips likes to take risks, but I think Denver's got the playmakers on the outside to to contain Green. Look for him to still get about 4 or 5 catches, but he'll certainly be around 60 yards or less, and probably not look. He probably won't make it into the end zone this weekend. And then at running back, we've got DeMarco Murray. DeMarco Murray actually plays against Oakland this weekend, and Oakland surprisingly actually has the number 1 fantasy defenses in terms of fantasy points per game against the running back position. Even though Murray's had 2 pretty good weeks, and Oakland's given up a ton of points, it's all been in the passing game. So look for Tennessee to score some points, but probably Mariota will be one to look for there.
Ouch, that hurts. As again, somebody who has DeMarco Murray as a starting running back right now, I might have to switch him to the bench this week.
Might be a good plan.
I think so. See, I'm getting stuff out of our conversations as well. And, I believe this week in the Real Deal Sports Talk Fantasy League, it's the Dirt Cannon versus Real Deal Sports Talk MVPs.
Oh, good.
I believe that's the matchup this week.
So, all right, good deal.
So we'll talk about that next week on the show for sure.
Absolutely.
Let's see. So earlier we mentioned the injuries. What is the injury impact this week on fantasy football?
Absolutely. So I took us a handful of injuries. Obviously, there's still some coming in, and Danny Woodhead tore his ACL. We talked about Adrian Peterson with his MCL and surgery being out for 3 to 4 months. We also have Brandon Marshall who has a strained MCL, so he's questionable to play. He hasn't really missed a whole lot of time. Look for him to probably still get some action in this weekend, but if for some reason the Jets are up big or produce a lead, Brandon Marshall could sit out like the second half or something to that effect. And so certainly in a daily format, I would probably avoid Marshall for this week, and let's see how that injury plays in a game situation. We also lost Doug Martin. He's expected to be out for 3 weeks with a hamstring injury. And then Jonathan Stewart was another running back that went down. We also found out today Amir Abdullah for Detroit is going to be out or he's on injured reserve, designated to return. So he's out for at least 8 games. We'll see if he comes back. And so in terms of players, especially in the daily format, but even in a season long, if you can get some of these guys off the waiver wire if they're not already taken, some guys that you might want to think about, Travis Benjamin for San Diego, obviously coming back and looking to fill in for Keenan Allen. He seems to be the primary target there. Fozzie Whitaker is going to be the starting running back in Carolina with Jonathan Stewart out. I don't expect a whole lot out of Whitaker for this upcoming week against the Vikings defense, but since Stewart's probably going to be out for a couple weeks, he might be a play for you, especially in a season-long format. Melvin Gordon is going to be the biggest recipient from Woodhead going out. He was already a top 5 fantasy running back for the current season. Look for him to get more involved in the passing game as well. So if you got PPR leagues or on DraftKings where they're adding up points per catch, then Melvin Gordon's going to be a strong play this week for sure. And then as far as Doug Martin's backup is concerned, they're saying today that Charles Sims is going to get the load, but they also brought in a former Falcons running back to carry the load a little bit for those guys, and we'll see how Jacquez Rodgers does in that new offense for him. So I think it'll be interesting to see how the carries are distributed for Tampa Bay.
Right. I'm
betting on Sims, but could be Rodgers might be a sneaky play this week.
Could be. I could see that working out for him. He didn't do a whole lot when he went up to Chicago. Kind of got his legs fresh more so than anything. So, I could see him. He's shifty. He's quick. I could see, him getting a little bit in the game. I like that.